Hey everyone, welcome back to Hustle and Harmony. You're here with your co-hosts Ashley and Alyssa, and our guest today we have is Taylor. You'll see her somewhere on the screen. I don't know where she'll be at for you, but hey Taylor, welcome to Hustle and Harmony.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. We're super excited. Before we dive in, just a little bit of a reminder if you're new here, Hustle and Harmony, we are really dedicated to empowering women to live purpose-filled lives and help you cultivate a sense of harmony in this hustle culture that we all live in. And that's really where our mission started. But if you remember when we kicked off our new season, we had mentioned that our mission has shifted a little bit, or we've added it onto our mission to really expose everyone to as many topics that are important and valuable to us as women as possible. And so, with that in mind, we're excited to have another guest on here with a whole new topic that's super interesting. And I can't wait to dive into and hear what everyone thinks about it. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and introduce Taylor for everyone. So, Taylor Powelson, if I'm saying that correctly,
Yep.
is a certified women's hormone health coach and certified menstrual cycle coach from the Institute for Menstrual Health. She's dedicated to helping women decrease period pain, heavy periods, or bring missing periods back so they can begin to sync with their cycles. With a passion for root cause solutions, Taylor guides her clients through personalized wellness strategies, including comprehensive lab testing and targeted nutritional support to unlock their body's innate cyclical potential, which just sounds so powerful, so powerful. And I'm really excited to dive in. I just want to mention, before we get into it, when I came across your page, your profile on Instagram, I was really intrigued because I didn't realize, because I'm fortunate enough to not have a lot of, I guess, pain or some of those characteristics with my own menstrual cycle. And I thought, wow, clearly this is an issue for a lot of women, though, if this is a
Yeah.
thing. So I'm really curious about to learn about it from that instance. And also, obviously, there's a lot of women in my life. So I'm curious what I'll learn and be able to share from there. But the thinking, of course, I'm like, okay. I've
I
heard
was
about this
like,
a lot and
that's a
I've
thing.
never dove into it. And I'm like, okay, here's our chance to like really start to get information on it. So really, really excited. So hopefully you guys just buckle in and here we go. Okay, so let's get started here. Why don't we start, Taylor? Just tell us a little bit about your background, what made you passionate about this topic, serving women in this capacity and advocating for hormonal health.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So, I did not grow up in a house where we were very open about periods. Like, this isn't how I was raised. I came about this through my own struggle, which I feel like is where a lot of us end up serving our passions is from our own struggles and our own journeys. Um, But I have two children, and after my second was born, they're now 6 and 8. And after my second was born, and even before then, but really after having children, my PMS and my rage and irritability was out of control. And um, I ended up going to my doctor for help because that's where we go when we have health issues and we need help. And I was offered birth control and antidepressants, which at the time I didn't know how prevalent and just widespread that is. But the more women I talked to, it was the same story over and over. They said, "Oh, yeah, I went to my doctor for XYZ." Anything that had to do with a period or hormones or irritability or anything, it was birth control and antidepressants. And while these things do have an absolute place in our society, they are definitely serve a purpose. It was not part of my story. So at that time, I really felt like I was being gaslighted. I wasn't being heard. It was just like, "Oh, you have young children. This is kind of how it is. Take these things, and this time shall pass."
Hmm.
And that didn't settle well for me. And so I dove in. I became my own advocate for myself. I knew that what I was experiencing was cyclical, meaning it, came around only right before my period was starting, but it was so debilitating. It wasn't just, as we call it, like that time of the month or whatever. It was like, it was debilitating, and it was um, getting in the way of my relationship with my partner and my kids and all kinds of things. So I knew it was hormonal. So I dug into everything hormonal I could, all of the courses, everything, all of the research, the studies. And I fell into this giant black hole, basically. And I'm still crawling. I'm not even coming out yet. I'm still like, whoa, wow, look at all this. Um, and so that's sort of how it began, was my own struggle and finding my way through and becoming my own advocate, because I couldn't find my own answers out there from doctors or my mother or anything like that. It was very foreign, this whole world of hormone health. And not even just cycle syncing, which I know we're going to get into, but just hormones in general and the menstrual cycle and how does this all work?
Mhm.
And the more I found, the more I was empowered and in awe, and also really kind of pissed off. Like, how am I 35 years old and I'm just now learning about all this stuff that governs my body? Our bodies as women
Yeah.
are governed by hormones, and we know almost nothing about them. But our moods, our energy level, our productivity, our metabolism, our cravings, our sex drive is all linked to our hormones. And yet we're just walking around pretty clueless.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I don't love that that happened to you, but I
Right.
love knowing that I'm not alone because I have been going on this personal journey over the last probably 3 years ish. Okay, so I'll be honest, I've never had a normal menstrual cycle, like ever, which is why I have 4 kids, and everyone is always like, oh my gosh, like, but you have 4 kids. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I would get pregnant because I had no idea. Like, what was, like, when was I ovulating? Who knows? I didn't know because one day my cycle was 60 days and one day it was 28. And then there's my fourth child. And so, like, it's just, like, I didn't even understand my own body for so many years. And then after you have children and you go to your doctor and you're like, I am constantly in pain when I'm ovulating. I'm constantly in pain when it's time for my menstrual cycle. Those first 72 hours are horrible. I'm a raging lunatic like the week before, and I don't even feel like myself and I can't control it. And I had a very similar experience. They were just like, this is just how it is as you get older, and here you can take this medicine the first day you get your period and hopefully that will make it better, but you just kind of got to like roll with it. And if you feel like you need something for depression, and I'm like, I'm not depressed, I'm mad. Like, just someone help me here. So I think I'm so glad you're here because I think it's just such a powerful topic where you're right. Like, we need to be empowered. And when we're empowered, when we have enough information. And I've been doing my own little deep dives on the side of like, what are the hormones? Because I feel like I need to be taking supplements or I need to be doing something because I'm clearly not doing things correctly. Um, so I love that it sounds like that was your turning point for you when you like didn't get the answers that you were seeking from your doctors. That was the moment where you were just like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. So I love that. So one question that I want to go to is, do you feel like there's misconceptions or common misconceptions that you encounter from women about the menstrual cycle, just menstrual health in general?
Big time. Totally. One of the biggest misconceptions that I run into is that women, and just in general, society thinks that our period is the most important part of our menstrual cycle. And while it is important, it is giving us feedback about what is going on in our body. It is absolutely important. It is not the most important piece. Like, when clients come to me, and most women in general, they're tracking their period. They know when they bleed, how long they're bleeding for, things like this. But anything else, there's a whole nother 3 weeks, more or less, give or take, and no one's paying attention to those other weeks when we're not bleeding. And so the misconception is that periods are the most important, and ovulation only matters if I want to get pregnant. Those are really big misconceptions, because
Mhm.
Ovulation is by far the most important event in your entire menstrual cycle.
Wow.
If we're not ovulating, we're not making any hormones. You only make hormones if
No.
you're ovulating. And so if anyone takes anything from this podcast, I hope that it is by the end, you're like, wow, I really want to know when I ovulate, not because I want to make babies, but because I want to know if I'm making hormones, if my system is feeling healthy and safe, not just your reproductive system, but like everything. So that's definitely the number one misconception. I
Wow.
would
Yeah. I mean,
also,
I definitely suffer from that, I guess, or have experienced that, those thoughts for sure. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, that's okay. I was just gonna add that a lot of women also don't realize, so this is another separate misconception, is that male and female hormones are vastly different. I feel like it's becoming a lot more well known. Women are, or people, it's out there a little bit more on social media, but male and female hormones are completely different. Um, Men's hormones, just to like quick snapshot, men's hormones follow the sun. They rise and fall every day. It's repetitive. It's the same every single day. It's a 24-hour cycle. That's why we live sort of the schedule that we have, this Monday through Friday. The sun rises, we go to work, we go to school, the sun sets, we sleep. It's also the circadian rhythm, but our world or our society runs on male hormones. It is the um, that very circadian rhythm 24-hour cycle. Women, on the other hand, we run more like the moon, if you will. So our hormones rise, peak, and fall over 28-ish 30, even 35, depending on who you are. It could be between 25 and 35 days. But during that your menstrual cycle, your hormones rise, peak, and fall once in a month. Men do it every single day. So this is why we feel so different from week to week or every 5 days or whatever it is for your menstrual cycle. So we're like shoving ourselves in this box that doesn't fit us. And then we wonder, why is this so hard? What's wrong with me? How come Susie May can do it and I can't? We really get down on ourselves, but we're living in a world that wasn't made for us. Our world is not tuned in to cyclical nature, to the cyclicality of our 1 month cycle. So that's another big misconception as well.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting, right? Just to know the cycles for men versus women. Um, wow.
I didn't know
It's,
any of that. None of it. None of what
yeah,
you just.
it's also interesting because when you look at nutrition and exercise, 99% of workout programs, nutrition plans, diets, keto, all of these things that are out there are studied. The research, the clinical research, are done on obese men. Men, because their hormones are very predictable, they know exactly what they're doing. They lose weight easily. The studies look really good. They work. And you can put a woman right next to that. Like maybe, I don't know if either of you or anyone listening has ever done a workout program with their husband, or they've done diets with their husband and he's crushing it and not even following the plan very well, and you're over here like sticking to a T and doing it every day, and
Hmm.
you kind of feel like crap and it's not working very well, and it's because it wasn't made for the shifting of our hormones.
Wow.
You're blowing my mind
Yeah, there's
here.
a
I
whole lot to like get into around this. I'm like, oh man, like,
did not know any of these things.
I
yeah. So
know, I
I'm trying to
know.
think like pinpoint it where to even begin. Maybe it's okay. So when you're working with women, what are they coming to you for? Like, what are some of those first questions typically that you get, right? That you're answering? Is it around maybe some of these misconceptions or is it starting somewhere else?
Well, that's interesting because my business has shifted a little bit. I started out with only cycle syncing, which is learning there's 4 phases of your cycle and learning like how to exercise with these different phases, how to shift your eating with these different phases, how And that's how it started. However, I started to get a lot of women that came to me that were like, Taylor, I'm eating grapes and watermelon on my period, and I'm really productive during my follicular phase, and I'm having lots of sex during my ovulatory phase, but I still really feel like crap. And I'm like, you know what? How's your sleep? Are you eating enough food? What do your periods look? So there was this foundation that needed to come first.
Ah,
And so now I work a lot with women who come to me with, why are my periods so heavy? Why am I feeling so much pain during my periods? Um, why do I have this pain during all this? So it's a lot of like pain and heavy flow.
okay.
Something is off. So we work on building that foundation, and then we can move into cycle syncing. Because I learned that too many women were trying to come to cycle sync, but they had like a slew of all these other things that needed to be taken care of before you can jump into
Interesting.
this this sort of prescriptive calendar in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can get on Etsy and there's all kinds of like cycle syncing, forums that are like, do this on your period and do this, and which are great. But that's not going to fix your period problems or hormone problems. And it also may even add another layer of stress because you're just trying to fit into this other calendar that maybe isn't what's actually how your cycle looks.
Okay. So
Okay.
what are, I mean, if you can briefly touch on them or in any way that you can, what makes up that foundation? Like, what does that mean to you, right? When we say, okay, like first got to get this figured out before we even look at cycle syncing. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I call it my five nourishing non-negotiables. And they're so simple, everyone has heard of them, but hardly any of us are doing them because it's one of those like, I should be doing those, but then they're so easy, we just don't. Number one is drinking coffee after you eat, food first, and then caffeine.
I do that right. Okay.
Okay.
No,
I'm
not me.
taking
No.
notes, by the way.
First
Ashley's
thing I
like,
do, yeah, is coffee. So I'm like, okay, heard.
so the reason why is because caffeine, I love caffeine. I have caffeine. Just have some food first. It can even just be like a little bit, a cheese stick,
Okay.
a meat stick, a piece of toast. I mean, that's a carb. I mean, whatever. Eat something, have something, and then your caffeine. And the reason why is because caffeine is going to spike your cortisol, which is putting your body, you may feel really good after you have your caffeine, but your body's like, whoa, I'm going in fight or flight. I'm releasing all this cortisol and also insulin, your blood sugar spikes. So we're kind of putting ourselves almost at this place where insulin resistance can become a thing a lot
Mm.
easier if we're continually drinking caffeine before we eat. So
Wow.
that's number
Okay.
one. Food first, then caffeine. Secondly is eat within 1 hour of waking. We are
Mm.
really good at prolonging food, whether it's intentional because you're fasting or because you're waking up, you're getting the kids ready, you're getting them off to school, and then you come home, you unload the dishwasher, you do some whatever. And by the time you sit down to actually eat, it's been like 3 hours since you woke up. That's another big stressor on your body. Your body doesn't feel safe. We have to live in these safe bodies for hormone health foundation. So that's number two. Eat within 60 minutes of waking
Can
up.
I ask a question on that one?
Yeah.
Do you give guidance on, because I've seen this on my reels and stuff, eat 30 grams of protein within 1 hour. Is that it? Or you're like, I don't care as long as you're eating something.
Okay, so my next one is eat 100 grams of protein a day.
There we go.
I've been
Okay.
really working on this one. Like I've been
Yeah.
really watching my protein. So,
Yeah. So the reason why again is a safe body, but most of the time when women come to work with me, they're not eating enough food. They think they are. They're eating intuitively, they eat when they're hungry, and I'm not one to track my food or weigh my food or track macros or anything. I used to do that and it was too much for me. And I simply say eat 100 grams of protein a day. And I will admit I can't do it without my protein shakes, without my protein bars. Like I get
Yeah.
help, and that's okay. Get it where you can. And it makes a huge difference in my energy level. Um, in about 3 months of doing this, my periods started to return. I had very light, scanty periods before. I was I was overworked. I worked out every day. I underfed myself and my periods disappeared. Once I started to establish these nourishing non-negotiables, my periods started to come back. So if anyone listening is dealing with, well, I don't have a period, it's missing, these are some things that you may want to think about. So 100 grams of protein. And then yeah, everyone's going to love this. So I switched the phrases out. Instead of reducing your stress, because what does that even mean? We're all just living our lives, right? Um, Find a safe body. Let your body know that it's safe. So that looks different for everyone. Maybe it's hands to your heart and your belly, taking a deep breath. Maybe it's walking barefoot. You know, we all know these things that regulate our nervous system. So finding a safe body. Let your body know that it is safe. Literally, you like wrap your arms around yourself and just be like, I'm so safe right now. And it feels really odd and silly in the beginning, but that is exactly what your body needs to know because we're just on fight or flight all the time and we don't really recognize it, but our hormones do.
And when you say that, do you mean like find your particular like tools that you like to use so that when you're feeling it, you can like bring them into play, like, breath work or something. It's like
Yeah.
just know what you're gonna do if you're feeling that way, or are you expected to like be safe, feel safe all the time?
Um, I would say the tool bag, like you're
Okay,
you're intentionally taking a little piece of it and shoving it into your day somewhere.
Okay.
gotcha.
And this looks really different for everyone because we're all moms, and this is like, well, sure, I could schedule yoga, but then this and that, whatever. So that's why it's almost better to think of it as like little parts of your day where you're just sprinkling it in. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to have a babysitter. It's just, you're in the pickup line to get your kids from school, and you put your phone down and you're hugging yourself and you're like, Taylor, we're safe. This is cool. We're so safe right now. You know? And that's a safe body kind of
Okay,
activity.
no, that's
All
helpful.
right. I like that.
And then lastly is tracking your menstrual cycle. And that one, I mean, I could go for another hour just talking about how that works.
All
Your
right.
entire menstrual cycle, not just your period.
Okay, thank you for saying that because my head went to, oh, when my period starts and ends. That's what
Mm,
I think,
hmm hmm
when I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just took a lot of notes because I'm just going through these. So one of the things for me is that I've I was always my whole life someone who ate within 1 hour of waking up because my body would feel sick. Like I needed food when I opened my eyes.
Mhm.
Um, but then I did like a workout program and they were like, no, you need to fast. You need to not eat in the morning. You need to fast as long as you can to like 11, 12 o'clock. So then I started fasting. And the crazy thing is, I think I put on like just a little bit of weight once I started fasting in the morning versus I think I was thinner like when I actually would eat within the hour because I wake up and then I work out and then I eat after I work out. So I'm like, okay, this is all making maybe a little bit more more sense to me now. So I love the ease of having those like 5 things to be tracking. I think that that's
Yeah,
fabulous.
they're all very simple,
Easy.
really.
Yes.
They really are. And just as a tiny little plug, I have it's a free mini course called Hormone Jumpstart, and it is the 5 nourishing non-negotiables more in depth with visuals and ideas and things like that on my website. So I
Oh,
know
cool.
we'll talk about that in a minute, but just so everyone knows, that is there. I do want to add on to something that you said about working out and food and all that. So part of why you seem to notice that your body was losing weight the more that you ate or the when you gave it food before it worked out is because it felt safe. When your body's not safe, it's going to hold on to your fat. It's going to be like, I don't know when my next meal is going to be, so I have to hold on to this. But if you're feeding yourself regularly before a meal, and I'm talking like, before my workout this morning, I had a little protein drink, not even the whole thing, and a banana.
Right.
Protein, carb, like, well, as I was like pushing play and getting all set up, it doesn't have to be, this extravagant meal.
Okay.
But that's why you seem to notice that because you were in a safer place. Your
I
body
was
was
I was
safe.
safer back then. Okay. So I need to change
Yeah,
back
that's
to that.
interesting.
All right, so I'd love to pivot into cycle syncing
Okay.
because this is a whole new concept for me. So, can you explain what that is and then why do you believe it's so transformative for women's well-being?
Yeah, so cycle syncing is basically living your life in sync or aligned to your menstrual cycle because we are so, our energy levels, productivity, all of these things are so different throughout the cycle that we start to change our lifestyle in a way to match our energy levels, to match our productivity, to match our sex drive, to match where we are in our cycle. So there are four phases to the menstrual cycle. The first one is your period, the menstrual phase, when you're actually bleeding. And I will just take a note here that um, your period, when you're tracking your cycle, you count day one of your cycle as the first day of your period, not spotting. Spotting doesn't count. It is the first day of actual blood flow. That's day one of your cycle.
Okay.
And then day two is the next day three is the next day, four, five, six, and you keep counting past your period. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way until you start your period, your full period again, and that becomes day one. And the day before becomes the cycle length. So I'm 40. My cycle lengths are currently 24 days. They're becoming shorter and shorter
Yep.
as I get older and older. So mine are 24. So that means 24 days is my entire menstrual cycle length. And then after 24 days, it's a little hit or miss. You know, I'm in perimenopause. So I'm like, I don't know, sometimes it's day 26, sometimes it's day 20. But if it was 24, then the next day when I start my period is day one. Again, we start all over. So I just want to make that little caveat for menstrual
Okay.
phase.
Okay.
And then the next phase is follicular phase or inner spring. People call this because it's after your period, and your period people call it your inner winter. You know, it's when you want to like cozy up on the couch and you have your mug
Yeah.
of something and you're like, oh. And then the next one is inner spring, follicular phase. This is after you have completed bleeding. Your estrogen is rising here, and estrogen is what I call your rose colored glasses hormone. Like everything's right in the world. You're just like, oh, I've my period's finished. I can take on anything. This is when you probably like had all the ideas for the podcast and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna decorate Halloween and like you're just like going off. And then after that is ovulatory phase or inner summer. This is when estrogen peaks. You also have a little bit of testosterone in both the follicular and ovulatory phase. And so ovulatory phase is when you are quite literally ovulating. You will start to feel like you feel good in your own clothes, like you're walking by the mirror and you're like, dang, girl, I'm looking good today. Or your husband walks in and there's nothing different about him, but you're like, ooh, look at that. You know, it's just like, and sure, it may only last a day, maybe two, but um, so that's ovulatory inner summer. And then lastly is your luteal phase or inner autumn. And this is 2 weeks long. So each of these vary in length and days, but the longest one is your luteal phase. It should hopefully be about 10 days, but it can be 14 days. It's basically from the time you ovulate until the time you start your period. And this is a time when estrogen is dropping. So that feel good, like, I'm on top of the world hormone is decreasing. And you start to see progesterone rise. Progesterone gets a bad rap. This luteal phase, this time before the period, it gets a really bad rap. And part of it is because it's when women have the biggest struggles. It's when we see PMS, we see irritability, we see like, what's wrong with me? How come I was fine last week? And the same thing I just can't do. This is why you're in your luteal phase. You have progesterone, which is considered a feel good hormone, but only if you have those five nourishing non negotiables on board. If you're eating
Okay.
enough food, if you're sleeping, then your luteal phase becomes this phase where, and I might get a little woo woo on some people that are listening, but luteal phase is kind of where the real and raw stuff is that you got to work on. It's where you might see patterns, similar thoughts come up, like like I've already mentioned, what's wrong with me? Why is this so hard? Those things are trying to tell you something. Maybe it actually something is hard. Maybe you need to put this down. Maybe you need to call in a mother's helper. Maybe instead of having, your mother's helper coming, during your follicular phase after your period, have her come later when you're about to start your period, when you really need some help. Or like you have the group chat, the mom's group chat, and you're like, ugh, I'm cycle day 23. Help me out. Can I just drop my kids off at your house? Like, this is where we need the most help, the most space.
Okay.
Um, I often talk about how my luteal phase saved my marriage because my luteal phase was when I just couldn't connect. I couldn't click with my partner. I I wouldn't say I hated him, but I was like, ooh, there is like resent there. What is going on? And my luteal phase forced me to sit down and actually talk to him about a lot of things that I was feeling, but holding inside and just really quiet about. Because here's what would happen. I know I'm talking so much. I'm going to
No,
zip
I
it
love
here.
it. Keep
This
it,
is
keep
so
it
good.
going. We're
Keep
taking it in.
talking.
Yes.
Okay, okay. But like in my luteal phase is when the real problems I was having would come up, but I wouldn't say anything. I would just like, okay, like get through this, push through. I'm hustling, right? Like, oh, I just got to do this. And then I'd come back around to my period and follicular phase and be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I don't know. That wasn't even it's fine. Everything's fine. Like, here we go. Feeling good again into ovulatory phase. And then here we are in luteal phase, and my problems are right in front of my face. So it was more family meetings. It was more like I would write a lot of notes in my luteal phase about what is the real problem here. Is it that I do need more help with the dishes? Is it all the time? It was just, I got really curious about
Mm.
what was coming up in this particular phase of my cycle. Because it's not just, um, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for here is, but I talk about the inner critic. That's when you're in your luteal phase, your inner critic, that voice that's like,
Yeah.
"Arr!" she's she's a beast, but she is full of wisdom also. She's telling you where there needs to be some softness, where there needs to be some work. And usually it's like pretty emotional and spiritual stuff that needs to be worked on in that phase.
Okay.
I just want to say like how I don't know the words I'm looking for either, but I love that you mentioned just the wisdom, like the innate wisdom that's inside of you and like your own body's trying to give you clues or at least
Right.
be like, hey, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Take a look. And don't ignore it. So I just wanted to plug that. And I will definitely say this is resonating with me a lot. I feel like at least the luteal phase, because I definitely am someone where some days it bothers me more if I'm getting help with chores versus others. Or you know what I mean? And like feeling like resentment come up or whatever the case is. I'm like, okay, I was probably like in my luteal phase during that
Yeah,
or
that's what
something,
I'm thinking about too. This just happened to me yesterday. That's so funny because Kellen was like, I said, Kellen, it's my son. I'm like, you need to throw your snack away after school. And he's like, why? You threw my snack away for me yesterday. And I'm like, okay, well, today's your day. But now that I think about it, like I'm definitely in my luteal phase. So
Yeah.
that's probably why it bothered me so much.
Same here. I just had my kids like cleaning their whole bedroom and stuff today. They're off school, whatever. Like, so it's really funny. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. That's really just really interesting. A lot to chew on and think about offline, right? By myself, right? When I'm
Yeah, lot to
Yeah,
examining my own cycle and stuff.
yeah. So just real quick, I want to plug a really great book to read about this exact thing is called Wild Power by Alexandra Pope and Sanji
Hmm.
Wurlitzer. It's also on Audible. It's really great to listen to. They are from the UK and they have these really lovely accents. Um, it's also a great one to have like a physical copy of to underline and highlight and all these things. It is not necessarily a book on like how to eat and how to exercise and all these things, which can, that's a whole nother thing. It is very much so these four phases and how to find that inner wisdom, that innate wisdom and guidance towards your purpose through your menstrual cycle. It's really, really powerful.
Wow.
I actually listened to this when I was pregnant with my son, and I was like, dang, I'm pregnant. I don't even have a menstrual. Like, it was the only time in my life pre learning all of this that I was like, I really wish I had a cycle right now. Like, I want to get into this. And then, of course, like breastfeeding, and I was like, I'm so, and then I had my daughter, and I was like, ah. So, really great book for
Okay.
exactly what you talked about, Ashley.
Thank you. And that just brought up a question for me, actually. What about women who are in menopause?
Mm.
And what does that mean when they don't have a cycle anymore? I'm assuming they have some type of cycle, you're going to tell us,
Uh-huh.
even though they're not menstruating.
Yes, totally. Yeah. So this is another thing that that book touches on. There's a prequel or a sequel to that book called Wise Power, and it's specifically for menopausal women, but it's women following the cycle of the moon. So I
Okay.
don't know who is uh, awake to the moon, like in I'm losing words,
No, I know what you mean.
like following the moon.
Follows the
Yeah,
moon.
the
Yeah.
Yeah,
cycle,
if
the
you
moon phases and
right, if you
Mhm.
follow the phases of the moon and your menstrual cycle, undoubtedly you will find some sort of pattern where you either bleed, you have your period with the new moon or the full moon, or you ovulate with the new moon or the full moon. You will find some sort of
Hmm.
pattern there because we are cyclical beings. We are lunar beings. Like, so think about before artificial light was a thing. We lived by the sun and the moon. And the moon, they, back in the day, women, tribal women would have these festivals with the full moon because they were all ovulating at the same time. And it was always with the full moon. And then we introduced artificial light, and now we're sort of,
Now we're all messed up.
now we're all messed up.
out, you were thrown to the wolves
Oh
there.
my gosh.
Yeah,
That
Okay,
so
that's interesting.
menopausal women, yeah, they follow the moon, and which can be a weird thing if you've never done it before. So start like anyone who's bleeding right now, start. Like if you have teen girls, start just paying attention to their cycles and the moon
Mhm.
and have that relationship early on so that when you don't have a cycle, you can start to look to the moon. And just if you are listening to this and you are menopausal and you don't have a period, a cycle anymore, when you are looking to the new moon, so when there's no moon in the sky, you can't see it, that is considered the first phase of the cycle. That is your menstrual phase. That is when we want to cuddle up. Our energy is low, those types. And you'll find that it's probably true. That's probably the case when you feel that way. And then the full moon is your ovulatory phase. That's when you feel big, bright, more energetic. You will probably find that that's actually how you feel even without a cycle.
So cool.
this is
Hmm.
so interesting.
Yeah, it really is. I want to like sync mine up and see where it's
See,
at with,
yeah.
with the days and
Oh
all
my
the stuff.
gosh. All right. Well,
Um, yeah, go ahead, Alyssa.
let's move into like what you do when you typically start working with a new client. So like someone comes to you, I'm thinking like I need to be a client because I clearly need help. Um, what do you like where do you start with a new client? And then kind of like what do you move to?
I guess
Yeah.
if they've gone through the five, they
Yeah,
have
if
the
they've gone through the
foundation.
five things, then like what's the next?
Well, first, when a client comes to me, I will initially do functional lab testing. So that's either a gut test, which there is so much information in a gut test. If no one's ever had one, oh, I highly recommend it. And then also, in addition to, or just one, a Dutch hormone test. So I use it's a dried urine hormone test where you get sent a package. There's these 5 little strips. You pee on them over a 24-hour period during a very specific time of your cycle because our hormones are fluctuating. So if you go to your doctor's office and you happen to be on cycle day 5, right? Maybe your period just ended and they do a hormone test, they take your blood. Your hormones are going to look very different on that day of your cycle versus if you got your labs done on cycle day 20 of your cycle. They're going to look really different. You're going to get different readings. So, something to consider, and why I use a urine test. Urine is really great at showing um, hormone metabolites, how they're being broken down in your body, where there might be blockages. So, first off, is lab testing. And then working on the nourishing non negotiables if they haven't yet. And then um, by then the lab test is back. We work on results, and it's very tailored. So I use supplements. I love supplements, certain kinds, of course. The kinds that I use have one ingredient, and it's very targeted, and it's a therapeutic dose. It's
Mhm.
not these blends of like 8 different herbs and you don't know what's doing what. And tailored nutrition and tailored movement for that particular person in their particular phase of life. Um, so
Wow.
that's how I start.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's so
really.
cool. So these lab tests, because here's a question that people probably have, like, are these things that they pay out of pocket for, or like would it be covered by insurance, or like how does that work?
So I know the Dutch test is usually not covered by insurance,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think that depending on your provider, you may be able to use HSA. Um,
Mm.
So that's an option. Gut test might be different. That might be covered,
Okay.
maybe. When a client works with me, it's included in their package price. I also accept HSA, so that's something to
Yeah.
consider.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
What does
cool.
the gut test tell you specifically versus the urine test?
Yeah.
So the urine hormone test is looking specifically at estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and your cortisol, your stress patterns,
Mm.
and specifically how you're metabolizing these. How are they being entered into your body and then go through your body and exit your body? Are they doing that? Or are they recirculating through your body, which is a whole nother problem? So that's one of the things that the hormone test will look at. The gut test is really great for, and this is a little more common than even I realized before I started testing clients, but it can look at whether or not you have a gut infection, if there's a bacteria that is really high compared to all of your good bacteria. Yeast, it will look
Okay.
at yeast. It looks at if you're breaking down your proteins and healthy fats. And the reason why these are my two biggest go-tos, and more so the gut test, is that your hormones are secondary, meaning if there's something going on in your body, your hormones are going to be the first to react. So it's not usually that there's a problem with your hormones, it's usually that there's a problem in your gut, that there's a problem with your adrenals, that there's a problem between the connection of your brain and your ovaries, that there's a problem with your cortisol and your stress, right? There's something else going on, and your hormones are letting you know, they're giving you those signals, Ashley, that you talked about, but they're not the problem. It's something else.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah. This
I
is
feel like we could probably talk to you for hours.
I
So
know.
I'm like, we might need
Sorry.
to like have a follow up with you. I don't know, but
I don't know. This is a lot
because
of
I'm
good
like, we're already
information
like
that I didn't
I
getting
know.
out of time. Like, oh no.
know. I know.
So hopefully you're open to that because I feel like we could spend so much more time with you. But maybe
Absolutely.
as we start to wrap up, something that I would love to get your insight on, especially because we both have young daughters, like we will be going
Mhm.
through this with them at some point,
Yes.
right? So what's maybe one thing that you like to tell young women who are just starting their cycles or women who are having those conversations with those girls? Like what's really important to lay the foundation for this? I don't know if that's a clear question. Hopefully it lands.
Yeah, definitely. I love this question because this is where the biggest change happens, is in our young girls and boys. They're the ones that are going to be able to change how our society grows up thinking about our menstrual cycles. So I know you said what's the one thing, but I have two.
Okay, even better.
So first is just be open about your own cycle with your girls, whether you have one or not. So if you don't, start just incorporating the moon and talk about what your cycle used to be like, or I remember when kind of things. Um, if you do have periods and a cycle, incorporate her in some way. Talk about, I'm on my period right now. Please don't use it's Shark Week. It's that time of the month. Call it what it is. It's a period. I am bleeding from my vagina. My uterus is shedding. It's lining. Like we don't need to sugarcoat this. It's okay to say what it is because it's a very normal process that we're all living with. So incorporate her in some way. One of the things I have clients do is you can just Google hormone menstrual cycle chart and then click on images, and a bunch of images will come up that show what the hormone cycle looks like. Print that out, put it on your fridge, and then have a little magnet that moves across the menstrual cycle so that it's a reminder for you, it's a reminder for your household that and you don't even have to say hey
Mom might be a
everyone,
little
I'm on cycle
touchy today.
just move it. And I started doing this and my kids were like, "Oh mom, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, this is my menstrual." It just it's an opportunity to talk about it. So number one, just incorporate her
Yeah.
into your own experience. And then secondly is to talk about and have her start tracking ovulation as soon as she can. Normalize it. Ovulation is really important. And in the beginning, things are going to be wonky for her. That's totally normal. She doesn't need to go right on birth control if she has irregular periods. They're going to be irregular in the beginning. Let them be. This connection between the brain and the ovaries is just starting to spark. So it needs a minute to figure it out. Give her a minute and then move into tracking ovulation. And the most popular way people do that is with the oral thermometer. Just make it a thing. Like people are like, "Oh, it's so weird. She doesn't need to know when she's ovulating because she's not having babies." We need to know these things because if she's not ovulating, it could mean something. Ovulation will shift, and if we know if ovulation is earlier, our periods will be earlier. If ovulation is later, our periods will be later. We need to know ovulation, so just normalize ovulation with her.
Wow.
I
I
love
thank you for that, right? I just think that's really powerful. And I think it's going to be really powerful for, everyone listening and empowering for us as moms in these situations to be able to have those conversations because it isn't normal or it hasn't been, right, within our society.
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah. So make her feel
Um,
comfortable at home with you and celebrate, and it's not weird.
Yeah.
yeah, I love that because I do think it makes it easier for them to also feel comfortable coming and talking to us about it,
Mhm.
which I think is great to be open in that way. So,
Absolutely.
how can our audience connect with you? Can you talk about the ways that if they feel like they need help in these areas, how they can connect with you?
Yeah, so the best place is my Instagram page at Be Well with Tay, and my website is bewellwithtay.com. Those are the two best places. We do have a free book club going on with that Wild Power
Ooh.
book that I mentioned. So we start reading on October 20th, which is a new moon. So you can invite your daughters, grab the book, come hang out. It's a great place to start.
That's so neat.
Very
All right.
cool.
I love
Love that.
that.
Thank you.
Um,
Now, oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. I was going to say, are you going to ask her the question we ask
Yeah.
all of our guests
Yeah, I
now?
was going to shift into that. So, yes, so we do have a question that we are asking all of our guests to try to connect everyone back to hustle and harmony a little bit. And so, would love to hear from you. What does living with purpose and harmony mean to you?
I love this question. My answer pre-menstrual cycle awareness would be so different than it is now. I mean, I was living in the hustle and I would have been like, yeah, just push through and do it and get to like get your goals and do the hard things. And but now purpose and harmony for me is about finding that inner wisdom and those inner patterns that are very unique to you because you're only going to feel that harmony when you tap into that inner pattern, and the way to do it is through your menstrual cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Who
cool.
knew that there was so much wisdom in a menstrual cycle?
I
I knew. I
know.
can learn things about myself in my menstrual
It
cycle.
really is mind blowing.
Yes, that's why I keep saying like I find myself saying such cliche things during this podcast like, "Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so cool." But it's because I'm sitting over here like I'm 37 years old and no one ever told me any of these things. Like I just found out like a couple months ago when I started diving deeper into figuring out like why do I have painful periods? What is going on with me? I think my hormones are off. That's when I learned that there was four phases. My TikTok started showing me women talking about their luteal phase and their this phase and I was like, "What are these?" I've been going on my whole life and I didn't know these existed. I was just like, up one day, all right, here's my period. Okay, it's gone now. All right, back to normal. And
Mhm.
that's clearly not how life works. So
Not
this
for us.
information has
Nope.
been
Yeah. No, this is really empowering, right? To know that you have the
very
information and now
empowering.
you can do something with it. So I appreciate that on behalf of our audience for sure. Now I would like to ask you as well, is there anything that you were hoping that we would have gotten to, like anything in particular that you feel called to share or that we you wish we would have asked?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm sure we could make this another hour long. So
Right.
I'm into
I
part two.
know.
Right? Yeah, that
Awesome.
would be awesome. Definitely. And I think too, for me, um, like one thing that I do want to touch on really quick, because I think that this is important, and I didn't know this was a thing. And Ashley's more new into doing this consistently too. So like exercising and your
All
menstrual
right.
cycle, that was one question I had. Like I am a very habitual person. Okay. So like meaning I eat the same breakfast for like a year and then I change up my breakfast and then I eat that breakfast for a year. And like with my workouts, I do 3 miles every single day. 5 days a week I run it and 2 days a week I walk it. And then I do strength training 4 to 5 days a week. So it's like, okay, am I supposed to be changing my workout to fit my menstrual cycle? Because I'm not doing that right now.
Okay. I love this so much because remember I mentioned like women would come to me and they're like, how do I cycle sync? I want to do like eat differently and da da da. And then it was this huge stressor. Like I have to change what I'm doing 4 times out of the month. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And in a way, it kind of is. And I think it's been overblown and become really complex. So, working out with your cycle is really working out with your energy. So, how do you feel
Okay.
when you're on your period? Can you I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not lifting heavy when I'm on my period. That
Right.
comes later when I have that boost of estrogen, and I'm like, yeah, that's when I'm going to do some PRs. I'm going to really push it and lift my heaviest. And then as I'm moving through luteal phase, I start to feel like I'm still showing up to my workouts. I'm still going, but I'm going to switch it up. My weights might be lighter, my reps might be a little bit less, but I'm still showing up. And then when our on our periods, I mean, sometimes it's different for everyone. Sometimes women are like, I just want to do some restorative yoga. Some women are like, no, I like to keep doing my thing. But just remember, like, if you're having those feelings during your workout and you're like, why is this so hard today? Think about where you are in your menstrual cycle and then shift it from there. But I will add the most important workout women can be doing is lifting heavy weights. That's
Mhm.
going to strengthen our bones and all these things. So, like for me personally, I went through like, oh, I'm going to do restorative yoga on my period, and I'm going to do Pilates during follicular phase, and then I'm going to do this, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And now I'm back to I strength train 3 days a week, and then I walk all the other days.
Okay.
And that's it. And how much I'm lifting and how long my workouts are, those are the things that I'm shifting throughout my menstrual cycle.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that, Alyssa, because I did have that question when she mentioned it earlier. Because yes, now I'm like, I finally started working out
Yeah,
consistently, and now
keep
I
it
gotta
up.
not.
No,
But that
keep
it's
it
like trusting your
up.
body and what you
Yeah.
know, like you mentioned, your energy level or like your weight level during the different phases.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Super, really
And like
helpful.
aligning with your energy. How are you actually feeling? And take into consideration how you feel after your workouts as well. That can be like, oh, I feel, really exhausted. Like I can't even function right now. Like what is going on? Oh, I'm cycle day 27. Maybe I should adjust this a little bit so that I'm
Mhm.
not causing more stress on my body than needs to be. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I love that because I
Yeah.
do think there's times in my life where when my period was absent like without being nursing or pregnant, I would go long spots of time, but I was working out so hard. I was going to the gym like twice a day, and I was just putting so much stress on my body. I wasn't eating, like I had an eating disorder. So, like, it just, my period like disappeared. And then when I got back into a normal rhythm, my period started to come back. And that was something that I noticed. So that was really why that question was so interesting to me because I'm like, okay, wait, should I be doing, like, what should I be doing? Just so I can make
Yeah.
sure that I'm doing it right.
Yeah,
Um,
girl. Yeah.
well, we want to thank you so much, Taylor. This, in my opinion, has been the fastest like almost hour that we've ever recorded because I was taking notes, I was listening, I was just so like enthralled, and I think I learned every single time you opened your mouth. I was taking in information. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you
I
so
can't wait
much.
to just like think about this afterwards
yeah,
more,
It's a
you know what I
lot.
mean? And reflect a little
It's
bit.
like
And
a
I know
fire
there's
hose.
so
Ooh.
many
yeah,
questions, like other questions and avenues we could have di dove into. So I'm really
yeah.
excited to keep
Yeah.
going.
So, what I would love to tell our listeners and our viewers is if you listen to this and you've come up with other questions that you would like answered from Taylor, like we probably will think of after we have time to digest what we've just learned, put those like send them to us in Instagram, to our the Hustle and Harmony Pod Instagram, and we'll coordinate a part two where we come back and we can have Taylor answer those questions because we want everybody to feel empowered in knowing their body and what to do. So that's why I think this was just so powerful. So I want to remind everyone so that you know where you can find Taylor. Her website is bewellwithtay.com, and then her Instagram handle is also at bewellwithtay. I'm gonna go on your Instagram. I started checking it out when you said yes to being on our podcast, which I was so excited about. But now I'm like, all right, I gotta go back and dive deeper into her Instagram to see what other awesome information she has. So thank you so much for being with us
Yeah.
today. We appreciate it. Just a reminder to our listeners, we are bringing you guests every single week. Well, not every week, but every time we air.
So
Every
yes,
other week on Wednesdays is when it will launch.
yes.
And if there's any topics that you want more information on, let us know because we'll look for guests who, fit the bill in those areas because clearly we're not educated on all things. And we just want to help you to feel empowered, like just all around as a woman, because that's what's going to help you to feel like you have harmony in your life. So thanks for joining us today. We will
Thank
see you
you.
next time,
See ya.
everybody. Bye.
Bye.